everyone, it's Marissa from bumblebeeapothecary.com, and today I'm here to kind of bring you along and talk about how I'm doing some meal prepping for before baby number 4 comes. This was a video that I wanted to make anyway, and some of you have requested it, so I thought that was great. So I had a little bit of a hard time, which I'm going to explain, it wasn't really a bad thing, coming up with ideas for what to make ahead this time. Over the years, my cooking has tended to be easier and simpler and quicker. I used to spend more time making complicated casseroles and different things like that, and I still will do that for fun sometimes. But I've just come to realize how delicious and easy and time-saving it is just to keep things very simple. And so I was thinking, like, it doesn't take very much at all to throw a whole chicken into the oven and roast it alongside some winter squash, saute some vegetables in butter, and there's dinner, you know? So it can be so simple, and it's almost like there's nothing really that needs to be made ahead for those kinds of meals. But there are some meals when you want, you know, wider variety. There are some meals that take a little bit more prep and different things, and so I did come up with some things to have in the freezer ahead of time. So one thing that I did was I made a bunch of sourdough pancakes, a double batch of those, and I stuck a bag of those in the freezer. And then we have really been enjoying this breakfast casserole. So I'll have to do a video on this at some point, but it's a recipe we've really been liking. It's ground pork that I cook with salt and pepper and sage, and then you layer that in a pan with shredded cheese and eggs, so eggs whipped up, and then bake that, and that makes breakfasts really fast and easy. So I made a serving of that and then wrapped it in parchment paper and in a plastic bag and put it in the freezer so that we can have some really easy breakfast, especially for my daughter needing to go to school on those mornings when the baby is here. And I have people helping out with, you know, taking her there. My husband will be here. Just makes it really quick and simple to have really nice, nourishing, tasty breakfast ready to go. So I have one of those. I made in a video, which by the time this one is up, this one will be out already, where I show how to make oxtail soup. And so I froze part of that. I have 2 containers like this. I thought this was a fantastic thing. I mostly had me in mind actually for this because it's so gelatin rich, which is ideal and perfect for when you're recovering after having a baby, and everybody else can eat it too. So I wanted to freeze part of that because I made a giant big batch of that. So I have 2 of these containers in the freezer of oxtail soup. So then in my planning, I was thinking, okay, so there are a few things that are good to have made ahead, and I'll talk about what else I'm going to make ahead here in just a little bit. But then also I wanted to have just a mental list, and then not just mental, I actually wrote it down so that we could reference it easily when we're in those first few days with a newborn, first few weeks. And so the other things that I have on hand are some grass-fed beef patties. So it's just ground beef, but they're already formed into patties in the freezer. Those are going to be really easy to just have defrosted and then be able to cook those in a pan. We like cooking those, putting some cheese on top to melt, and then making like a lettuce wrap for the people who are not eating grains. You know, ketchup, mustard, pickles, mayonnaise, whatever people want to have on there, tomatoes. You can get really creative. Those are really tasty. Everybody here loves those and super easy to make. And so we'll have those ready to go. My husband can easily cook those up for us. Like I mentioned in the beginning, there's the whole roast chicken option that we can always have defrosting out there in the outside refrigerator. Put it in the oven to roast alongside some winter squash. Or one thing that I also really like to do is just roast a whole pumpkin. So I won't even do anything to this before I put it in the oven. I'll have the chicken in there roasting, and then when it has about an hour, hour and a half, depending on the size of the pumpkin to go, I will put this in there. I just set it on the rack, and then when it's done, it's nice and soft. I take it out with hot pads, put it on a plate, and let it cool a bit so you can handle it. And then the skin just peels right off, and you can easily get to the flesh, scoop out the seeds from the inside, and then you can mash the flesh with butter. We like to sprinkle some cinnamon on there too, and that makes a really easy, tasty side along with the roasted chicken. And then I'll also steam or saute, usually saute in butter, some vegetables alongside, green beans, peas, something like that. And then that'll be another really easy dinner that we can do. Another thing that's really easy is to have steaks already defrosted out there and bring those in, cook them in a pan. I usually start them in the pan, sear each side, and then finish them off in the oven. And then again, easy side sides to go with those. Could be like the winter squash from the oven, or the pumpkin, or sauteed vegetables in butter, or roasted vegetables in the oven. Super easy things that my husband can just, you know, stick in to cook, and there's another easy dinner. And then another thing that I didn't really feel like I needed to do anything ahead of time for was tacos. We call them tacos. A lot of us are not eating tortillas or anything, but it'll be like a taco salad type of thing, or taco bowl. So we'll make the taco meat, cook up ground beef with chili powder and onion and garlic, salt, and then we will have that with lettuce, sour cream, salsa, avocado, shredded cheese, you know, all those different things. Again, super easy to just cook up some ground beef like that and then have all the toppings ready to go. So that'll be another thing that we'll have on hand to make, that he can make easily. And then for the other things that I want to have ready to go that do require a little bit more prep work are going to be cutting up some vegetables, so that if I want to make a batch of chicken soup, it's like making chicken meat stock, but we'll cook a whole chicken, so it'll be a whole dinner meal. And I'll cut up vegetables for that ahead of time. And since baby is due quite soon at this point, I'm not going to freeze the cut up vegetables. I'm just going to put them in bags in the refrigerator, and I know that they'll still be good by the time that we would need them. So I'll cut up some bags of carrots, celery, and onions so that I can easily just toss a chicken and those cut up vegetables and filtered water, salt, pepper in a big pot, and then have very easy chicken soup going. And then the other thing is, if I want to do like a beef stew, it's easy to have beef stew meat defrosted, and then I'll have a bag of carrots, onions, and then make sure I have frozen peas on hand to be able to toss that together really easily too. So just like getting the busy cutting, chopping part done, so that all I have to do is put stuff in a pan or pot and turn it on is basically all that I would have to do, or my husband, and then makes it super, super easy. And then the last thing that I want to do is make a meatloaf. So I want to make a meatloaf for our dinner tonight. And then something that's really nice is to just make two of something and freeze one of them. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make two. I'm going to keep one raw. I'm going to freeze it in this 9x13 pan. I have it lined with some natural parchment paper, and then I'm just going to freeze it raw, pop it out of the pan, and put that into a big bag wrapped in parchment paper inside of the bag. And then that can be really easy. It can fit right back into the pan to defrost and then go in the oven to bake. So again, super easy to throw some squash or pumpkin in with that to bake, and probably saute some vegetables as well to go with that. Super easy meal. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to start by cutting up some vegetables, and then I'm going to do the meatloaf after that. Okay, so now the last thing that I'm going to do in this little prep session is to make my two meatloafs. So one for dinner tonight, one to go in the freezer. So I keep this meatloaf really simple. I'm doing ground beef. I have my grass-fed ground beef in here. I think this is 4 pounds, because these are like 1 1/3 pound squares, and I have 3 of them, so it's like 4 pounds of meat. And then I'm gonna add a few things to it. I'm gonna add some eggs. I usually add 1 egg per pound of meat. And then I will either do some cut up onion or some onion powder if I'm keeping it really easy. So I'm just gonna do some powdered onion, and I just kind of eyeball. I do, you know, a good amount for this much meat. So what would that be? Tablespoon? Maybe 4 teaspoons. I like to also add some dried parsley. again, I'm probably doing like a tablespoon of that. And then I'm gonna do each of these a little bit differently. For the one I'm freezing, I'm leaving this out, but for the other one, I'm going to add some tomato sauce. Normally I like to do tomato paste, but I haven't been able to find that at the store where I usually get it, so I'm just going to add tomato sauce. Some homemade or all natural unsweetened ketchup would also work. And then some salt and pepper to taste. I'll usually just do a small sprinkle of pepper, maybe a 1/4 teaspoon, and then some salt. Again, I just do this to taste. Probably ends up being about a 1/2 teaspoon. So I'm gonna make sure there's enough because this is a good amount of meat. So then I just mix everything together with my hands and then I'll put it into the pan. I'll do the tomato-free one first. And the reason why I'm leaving the tomato out of the one that I'm freezing is because in the past I've noticed with newborns, when I eat tomatoes, tomato sauce type things, it kind of will irritate them a little bit. It'll give them a little bit of a diaper rash. And so I just have been generally avoiding tomato sauce type things while they're brand new, and then later on when some time goes by, then it's fine and it doesn't seem to bother them. So I just thought I would do that since we do plan to eat this when they're brand new. I like forming it just flat in the pan like this because I think that it bakes a little bit more quickly and a little bit more evenly than if you form it into a loaf, and it's easy to divide up and serve this way too. Alright, and then that will be for our dinner tonight. We'll do it in the oven. I'll bake it along with a pumpkin. We'll probably saute some vegetables like peas in butter or green beans along the side. Haven't decided for sure yet. And that will be dinner tonight, and then one for the freezer. So just to recap, the things that I plan on making that are super easy to throw together and don't really require hardly any prep work are going to be roasting a whole chicken along with pumpkin, winter squash, sauteed vegetables, and then burgers. So those pre-formed burger patties, and we'll serve those with cheese and all the toppings, maybe vegetables along the side with those also. And then we can easily cook up taco meat with all those different toppings, and then steaks too. Easily can get those made and then do vegetables along the side as well. And then the things that I prepped are the pancakes, frozen bag of pancakes I can reheat for myself, the breakfast casserole with the ground pork, cheese, and eggs in it, the oxtail soup, and then the bags of pre-cut up vegetables that I can easily throw in with a whole chicken for chicken soup, or with a roast, or with stew meat, and then the meatloaf that I have frozen that can just be tossed into the oven with winter squash or a pumpkin, and then vegetables sauteed along the side as well. So I hope that you enjoyed coming along while I did some meal prep while getting ready for baby number 4. Check out that description box for links to where I like to buy grocery items, as well as links to free ebooks and other goodies. I have lots more recipes over on my website, bumblebeeapothecary.com. Leave me a comment and let me know what are your favorite make-ahead meals that you like to make ahead to save time later, or to put in the freezer for later, or maybe to bring somebody. I'd love to hear what you like to make. If you did like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with anybody else who you think would like it, and if you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I get out 2 new videos every week on nourishing recipes and natural living. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.